Mm-hmm. Hey, everybody. It is Peter here from Strong Healthy Women, and welcome to Talking Wellbeing TV, where we share hints, tips, and advice about the foundations of well-being. And all week this week, we have been talking about confidence within you, and I have been sharing with the lovely Fiona from Style Liberations. How are you going, Fiona?
I'm really well today. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Happy Friday to you.
Yay!
Happy Friday to everybody out there too. Hey. It's weekend time. So remember, if you've done the metabolic jumpstart with me, now is not the time to start heading for the glass of wine either. Stick with your water. But today, just thought I'd throw that in there. But today
Fair enough.
we want to focus on part three. Now, we have talked about on Monday, knowing your style personality. So, and that helps you dress to who you truly are within inside of you. And then we moved on to color and how there's a psychology behind it and how what it does is gives you this wonderful glow when you understand what it is and how to make those colors work for you. And today is such a really exciting topic because it is about size and shape. And I know for us girls, what we tend to do is we like to focus on the thing that we don't like about ourselves as opposed to, really honing in on the assets that we have and understand that shape and how we can make it work for us. So let's jump over to you, Fiona, and get started. Tell me, what is the first tip that you can share with us today?
Well, it's really funny. Whenever I talk about body shape with anyone, usually there's this like massive collective groan, and I get like faces like this. And it's the thing. We are so hard on ourselves for having a body that we're
Mhm,
supposed to have. Yeah, like
mhm,
we all
mhm,
come in different shapes and sizes. And the key thing that I
mhm,
want to let people know that it is about creating proportion. It's not about the number on the tag. It's about creating proportion. That because the numbers on the tag vary so much depending on the brand, where it's being made, all
yep,
of those sort of things. You should be more concerned about, how fit and healthy you feel rather than that number. And what is visually
mm,
pleasing to the eye is actually when we see balance and proportion. I know we've talked about that in terms of colour already, about that balance and harmony. It's actually the same with body shape. And if anything, it's not actually even body shape. Do you know what I mean? It's about creating a silhouette. That's what we need to focus on, because often what happens
mm,
is people focus on their bums, they focus on their tums, they focus on their arms, or they focus on something like you were
mm,
saying that they're not loving. The thing to understand is we're all supposed to have bums. Some of us will have a little bit
mm,
of a tum, and arms and things like that. It's about working with our bodies and the clothes that we put on it to create the silhouettes that we want to create. So, we need strong legs, we need strong thighs, we need those glute muscles, we need all of those things to be able to function and do the things that we need to do. And
mhm,
the other thing that I'm always going on about is our bodies allow us to do so much. Getting dressed is about
yes,
decorating them and expressing who we are. They do so much. And if we start embracing and enjoying our bodies for what we can achieve with them, rather than how they just look, which sounds crazy for someone who is an image consultant, you are already starting at that point of really spending time enjoying clothes, your wardrobe, and things like that. If you put on things that make you feel great, you stop thinking
yep,
about your bum and your thighs and your arms and everything else as well. So that's my key thing.
yeah,
It's about creating proportion.
and it's really interesting because we hadn't talked about this beforehand, but the tip that I put up in the post was, you know, tip today is focus on what your body can do.
Yeah.
And And so it is something that's unusual for, a fitness and weight loss coach to actually say that. And it is all about having that healthy body from the inside out. So, too often what we do is we focus on the number on the scale as an example as well too. And that number may never change. It might be exactly the same as what it was, when you're in your 60s as what you were in your 20s, but your whole
Yeah.
shape's changed. And that's because that body composition has changed as well too. And so when you can focus on what's going on inside, then you end up with a healthier body as well too. So it's really interesting. So what are the types of things that we would look for? So we're not all the same type of
No.
shape.
No. And
So
yeah, so it's
I was
not,
going to say,
so
like,
it's,
I know I'm little at the top and bigger at the bottom.
yeah. So if you want me to, I'll run through some of the four most common body shapes. And the reason I'm going to do that is because when you know what shape you are, so it's not
Hmm.
about branding or labeling you as such, but when you understand your shape, what you can then do is it gives you the power and the information to know what to do with it. And that's where, that's where you have the win. So the most common body shape for women, and this is why when women say they don't like their bum and thighs, it's like, well, this is how many of us are supposed to be built. And that is where the bust and the shoulder line, and where we measure the shoulder line is actually from under the arm through to the hip line rather than from the outside of the shoulder line. So it's where our bust and our shoulder line is proportionally smaller than our hip line. So if you think of our shoulder lines sort of move in that sort of angle, and sometimes it's characterized by wearing a smaller size on the top and a larger size on the bottom. But sometimes you'll wear the same size top and bottom. You'll have a waist, and that's the other thing. It could be sort of a natural waist where your belly button is, or it might be a little bit raised as well. So for a triangle body shape, what happens is a lot of us focus on our thighs and our bums. And what we want to do is we want to bring the focus back up to our face and to the top half of our body. And we're looking to create width across the top half of my body. Now, I'm a triangle shape. So before I understood this whole proportion and things like that, I always wore super tight stuff on the top, like little tanks and things like that, and then I'd wear wider stuff on the bottom. Now you can still do that, but what it was doing was accentuating this shape, and I wasn't trying to create that shape. That's not the shape that I was wanting to, or silhouette I was trying to create. So when you do create width across the shoulder line by wearing like stripes or brighter color on top, or my favorite, which is shoulder pads, what happens is that the top half of the body appear the same size or larger than the bottom half. Now, what those two shapes that you might create, if you cinch in at the waist, you end up creating an hourglass shape. And if you're doing what I'm doing today, I'm wearing a pair of like skinny jeans with this blazer, and it's a longer blazer and it's a little bit straighter, you're creating what we call the inverted triangle shape. So they're two shapes that you might want to create as a triangle with your body and the clothes that you put on them. So one of the tips around that is really when you get dressed, what I want you to do is I want you to notice if something feels really good and you're looking at yourself and you're going, you know what, I'm a bit of all right today. If that's happening for you, have a look and see what silhouette you've created. Is it that you've created that beautiful hourglass shape? Or is it that you've created a shoulder line that's wider than your hip line? Or is it another shape, which is the second most common body shape for women, but I actually call it the most versatile, and that is the rectangle shape. So where your bust and your hips are pretty much in proportion, you still have a waist, but it's not quite as defined as what it is for an hourglass. So if you think hourglass, like Marilyn Monroe, for example, her waist was about 20 centimetres smaller than her hip and bust measurement. Quite rare, okay? But we can still create that shape. We can still create that illusion of that shape. But a rectangle shape will still have a waist. It's usually raised. That's why they often find dresses a little bit tricky to buy. So they're looking for ones that have got a slightly raised waist or just shaping through that area. And for them, they can actually mirror their shape. They can wear those shift dresses, boxier jackets and tops and things like that, and they look fantastic in them. So they can really mirror their shape. They can also then create that gorgeous, sorry, my hands are going this way. They can also create that gorgeous inverted triangle shape as well by, again, mirroring their shape down the bottom and wearing something really skinny, and then adding something that creates some width across the top, like, print, patterns, stripes, that type of thing too. And then they can also very much create an hourglass shape by just showing some shaping around the waist. It doesn't mean you have to cinch in with a belt or wear something bodycon or anything like that. It could be as simple as just having some gentle shaping around the waist area in a jacket or a cardigan or in a top to create that hourglass shape or your rectangle shape. So then what we've got is the inverted triangle shape. So the inverted triangle shape is where the shoulder line and the bust line is proportionally larger than the hip line. Okay, so they can actually again mirror their beautiful shape, or they could create an hourglass shape. And they can do that by wearing, say, wide leg pants, A-line skirts, that type of thing. So they've got a little bit of leeway in terms of creating their own shape or also creating an hourglass shape. For them, if they tend to go for a rectangle shape, it makes them feel a little bit too boxy. So they often don't venture into that sort of territory at all. And then last but not least, we have what we call the hourglass shape. So it's where the bust and the shoulder line is in proportion to the hip line. The waist is really very defined. So we find for hourglasses, they really, really need to show off their curves because otherwise they feel a bit boxy. So even though it's a shape that we look to create, it can actually be quite tricky to dress unless they really show off their curves with that one. But they can also create that inverted triangle shape if they wanted to by just streamlining their bottom half and creating more width across the top half too.
And so, Fiona, when you are a certain shape and, you understand that, for example, if you're a triangle, you're trying to create this wider look at the top of your body, but there is something that you love, for example, for me, like wide leg pants, which would make me look even wider down the bottom. Once you understand that, there are ways to trick it, I suppose.
Say cheat, because you're allowed to cheat.
No, okay, cheat a little bit. And so, and that's the wonderful thing about just simply embracing the shape that you are, understanding how to wear it, but know that not everything is out of the question, because if there is something that you love, when you learn the practical know-hows and the theory of it, then you can understand what to do in order to really embrace that extra little thing that you've got in your cupboard that you're just not giving up.
Absolutely. And look, when we start with our clients, we always get them to follow the rules. And then we let them get to the advanced stage where then, you're allowed to cheat. So I guess it's like with a lot of things, you've got to get the basics right first and practice those basics before you're allowed to progress to the next level and, maybe experiment with other things. But absolutely. And, I just wanted to tell a little story. I was shopping with a client. I remember I was in the Canberra Centre and we were at the change rooms. And, we were in there for a while because there was lots of really great wins at Myer. And I remember there was a whole heap of women that ended up coming through while we were in that change room with my client. And I heard the same thing over and over again about how something was wrong with them. That the reason why things didn't work was because something was wrong with them. And I wanted to burst out of the change room and say, there is nothing wrong with you. Like, there's nothing wrong with you at all. What's going on is no one's taught you how to put the pieces together. No one's told you what to look for. No one's explained to you how you work with your beautiful shape. It's not you. And so, for me, coming back to that whole idea of cheating, things can absolutely work if you know your body shape and how to work with it. Like, don't work against yourself, work with it. So so that when I hear that from other change rooms, it's like, no, I've got to focus on my client, but I really want to be over here saying, It's not you. It really is not
You want to be
you.
flicking out your business cards underneath their change.
It's like, or my business card should say, it's not you, it's them, or something like that. Just shove it underneath.
It's the clothes, it's not you. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, so true,
exactly.
so true.
So
Yeah.
it's you know, that's the whole thing about us being hard on ourselves and blaming ourselves when something doesn't work, rather than thinking, actually, what's going on here? Is it that I'm just not putting it together in the right way, or I just have to think about something a little bit differently? I know one of the biggest things is around pants for most women. They find pants really tricky to buy.
Oh,
And
totally.
that's, yeah, because often, especially for triangles and hourglasses, they fit around the bum and thighs, but then you might have gaping at the waist. So
Waste,
always buy for
yeah.
your bum and thighs and then get the waist taken in. You just get a little V taken in as well. Because again, a lot of women go, oh, well, it's me. That's, you know, my bum and thighs are too big. No, they're not. These clothes are made for rectangles. That's why. They're based on a mannequin for a rectangle. They're not made for a mannequin for an hourglass or a triangle. So it's not you. It's just how they've been manufactured. Likewise for rectangles, often they fit well or snug around the waist, and especially for inverted triangles as well, but then they're too baggy on the leg. So what I always say is get them to fit to the leg, and you can actually just get a little bit of extra insert put into the waistband, like a little bit of an elasticated thing put into the waistband. So then again, it fits you perfectly. So it's just knowing who people are making things for and realizing, you know, they're basing it off a particular body shape and it might not be yours. So it's not you, it's just that they're making for someone else.
Yeah, see, now I never came across any of this type of stuff because growing up, my mother made all my clothes. So my clothes they just fitted. So
Yeah, so did you
it
feel
was
good about
only
yourself then
when,
as well?
oh, totally, everything I
Yeah,
wore, I thought I was just a rock star. So
absolutely.
totally. And then when I, finally left home and I went, oh, okay, now I have to buy clothes, and it was the most traumatic experience I ever had, because it was like, why do these things not fit? I was so used to having clothes that just fitted. It just worked for me, and now all of a sudden it just isn't. And so it just became very frustrating for me. So I would steer clear of dressing and going out shopping. And it's probably just stayed with me now. I'm not a fan of it. I love shopping with other people and helping them out, but it's just not for me. And if I am going to do it, I just want to do it in silence with myself.
And look, we find that. And often people that we shop with, they don't love shopping. And they're coming to work with us because they don't love shopping, or they've had, similar experiences where, they've spent 2 or 3 hours and they've come home empty handed or with pieces that will do rather than because they love them, or they're basically the same as everything else they've got. Because we don't know where to look. We don't know what we're looking for. And we're not sure about what the fit should be or how it should go together with something else, because again, no one really teaches us this stuff.
Look, I remember being we were in New York and we went to all the big outlets over there. And we were in, I can't remember what shop, but, Paul's in there and he's picking up pants left, right, and center. And, he walks out with 10 pairs of pants and he goes, didn't you get anything? It was like, no, nothing fitted. And that can be frustrating because men are such different shapes to women, and they just find it so easy to buy things, and they can't understand, if they're shopping with us, why it takes so long. But it is the fact that we are differently proportioned, and we want to feel comfortable, and we want to know that we're making a purchase that we're going to keep wearing, that we're not just going to keep it in our cupboard.
Exactly. We've got some different bits happening that, need some extra attention in terms of getting it to fit properly. We don't want to waste money. it makes us feel terrible when we
Oh,
look in our wardrobes, when we see pieces that we haven't worn. And I find that really interesting when we work with women in their wardrobes. And it's like, you know what, you just got to let it go. You didn't know, and that's okay. Let's let it go and let's build from here. You can't give yourself a hard time about it.
And when you are cleaning out your wardrobe like that, there are so many organisations that you can give those clothes to that you know that they're going to go to some type of worthy cause. So simple things like with your bras, when you're buying new bras, you know, you can donate those to, I can't even remember what it's called, it's Sisters in something or other, and it's for ladies who are coming into out of a domestic violence situation and they have nothing. So yeah, it's right. Just let it go and give it to somebody who really will appreciate it and cherish it.
Really interesting, and I'm not being paid by Bird's Nest at all, but I remember I've been lucky enough to do a lot of behind the scenes tours there, and I remember they've got a 365-day return policy, and the reason they have that, one, because you know they have a lot of people who, you know, they're in country areas, so it's not easy necessarily to get back and forth to a post office and stuff just to return items. They said they never want a piece to sit in someone's wardrobe that's from them that's not used. So they'd rather, as they say, another bird have it. And that's their whole philosophy behind that 365 days. Like, you know, if you haven't worn it in a year, we don't want you to hold on to it because there's another person out there that will really love that piece and they want it. So return it to us and we'll send it to somebody else. So it's almost like, you know,
That's
you're
brilliant.
gifting it to someone else. So I love that philosophy because it's true. Don't hold on to it because it's, you know, there's someone else out there that will really, really want it.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. This has been fascinating, Fiona. Is there any final thought that you want to leave us with today in regards to shape, size?
Have fun with it and experiment. But really, it is that tip around look, when you're wearing something that you feel really good in, check what shape you've created. Is it the hourglass shape? Is it the inverted triangle shape? Or is it the rectangle shape that you've created? And just take note of what elements you've used to create that shape, because then you can use that going forward in your wardrobe to create other outfits. We don't spend enough time playing in our wardrobes. It's always a sort of, unless it's for a special occasion, but often it's just, you know, a final thought, you know, in the morning, right, I've got to pull something together. And it's about experimenting with what you have and pulling different outfits together. So, and seeing what it does for your shape.
Brilliant, brilliant. So this has been wonderful. So we've talked about personality, we've talked about colour, we've talked about size and shape. And we're going to do a wrap up on Sunday, aren't we, at 10?
We are.
That's going to be a bit of fun. So if you're hanging around, ladies, I would suggest that you jump in on Sunday and maybe you've got some questions so you can, you know, post your questions up and ask away. And I'm sure Fiona will do her very, very best to answer those questions for you. But I know that you are opening up the style transformation very, very soon. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So our program is an online program and it really helps women avoid wasting money on clothes that they never wear or feel great in. It helps women to really create a wardrobe full of outfits that they love in terms of having things that mix and match, that go with a lot more. You're not going to get stuck with that piece where, you know, only that top goes with that pair of pants. So we do deliver it through style, personality, colour, and also body shape. When you know those three elements, your style profile, everything else becomes much, much clearer. So that opens on the 2nd of September. So we're really excited about that. And I know, Peter, that you have shared the waitlist link. So if you are interested in transforming your style, then join the waitlist because we've also got some super goodies and bonuses that will be going to our waitlisters as well.
And of course, anyone who knows me knows that I love a good bonus.
Yes, you do.
I do love a good bonus. And I've done the style transformation, and it certainly was a big eye opener for me, knowing that I have just saved so much time. As I mentioned earlier, I don't like shopping. It's not for me. But now with what I'm armed with, I can scan those shops, or I can quickly just do a search online for what I'm looking for. And it's just so much easier. So I'm not wasting time on it, and I'm not wasting money. And that's really important because most of us girls have got so many other things that we want to do in our lives.
So many.
Let's face it. So many. Yeah. All right, Fiona, thank you so much for today. And I will see you on Sunday morning. So happy Friday, everybody. We shall see you all on Sunday. Tune in. See you
Thanks so
then.
much. Bye.
Okay, bye. Bye.